Well, so just as I was about to start this video regarding the stuff that took place in Glasgow yesterday with the two Indian men that were placed in the back of an immigration van, with the plan being seemingly for them to be deported, as they had, in no uncertain terms, outstayed their welcome, especially in the case of one of them who had his visa expired, and despite numerous attempts to reapply, they were all rejected. His time was up. He was placed in the back of a van. Something doesn't happen all too often, has to be said. Deportations, that is. That said, it didn't take place, of course, because mob rule, as well as political pressure from particularly the SNP and Anas Sarwar from Labour as well, but particularly Nicola Sturgeon and Humza Yousaf. And just as I was about to make this video, something else, this is brand new that I haven't seen yet, and this is the latest tweet on Humza Yousaf's little Twitter here, where he says that he has written to Glasgow Labour MSPs asking them to join the SNP and the Greens, of course, because they're two cheeks of the same arse, in a progressive alliance to resist the UK government's draconian immigration policies. We can put aside our differences on constitution and demand powers over asylum that are devolved and create a system based on compassion. A system based on compassion. There's a common theme that I've noticed since all this bollocks started yesterday. I mean, we all know that the SNP, in particular, but not limited to, are obsessed with having devolved immigration powers. That is something that really they can't shut the fuck up about, if I'm quite honest. If they can't have independence, quote unquote independence, then they want devolved immigration powers. But then when you listen to the namby-pamby wishy-washy bollocks that they come away with, a system based on compassion, you know? What would that mean exactly? Well, it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure that one out. But anyway, I'm digressing. So, this is his wee letter here. And it says, Dear Anas, Pam, Paul and Pauline. Firstly, can I congratulate... I better zoom in a bit for people here. Congratulate you on being elected and re-elected to represent the city of Glasgow. The action of the Home Office yesterday in Kenmure Street were quite frankly a disgrace. A position I am sure you agree with. Not because they were doing their legal duties and trying to deport people. As I said, it's not very often that happens, but, you know. Yeah. To attempt a forced eviction and removal in the heart of Scotland's Muslim community. In the heart of Scotland's Muslim community? You mean in Glasgow, which is a Scottish city? What is this? This is the only time I've seen this said. Nicola Sturgeon essentially said the same thing herself. In the heart of a Muslim community. Why is there a Muslim community? Why? I don't know. Integration, folks. Anyway, on Eid, demonstrates either the Home Office's utter incompetence or it was a deliberate attempt to provoke. Either way, it was completely unacceptable. And, you know, to me, I think the whole thing's fishy, if I'm being honest. I put my tinfoil hat on for a second. I genuinely think there's something fishy about all this, the timing. You know, I just think it was done... If I'm being honest, I've got no proof to back this up. I just think it was done to bolster the SNP's case for control over immigration. If I'm being perfectly honest, you know, don't ask me why I think that. I just do. That said, let's be serious here. If you think that's conspiratorial, well, that's equally as conspiratorial as to claim that it was done in order to provoke or a deliberate attempt to provoke. So if Humza Yousaf can say that bollocks, then I can say what I say. Nonetheless, to then refuse to abandon our operation despite repeated requests from the Scottish Government, MSPs, MPs and councillors of many political persuasions and of course from the people of Glasgow themselves shows the contempt with which we are all collectively held by the Home Office. You know, just because you demand that people are allowed to stay in the country, just because there's demands that are being made and pleading and begging for these people to be let out of the van because they have a family here and they're just as Scottish as you are. You know, it's not incumbent on the Home Office, in this instance, to listen to these people at all. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're deporting people that shouldn't be here. I don't give a shit if the Indian man who's now been in the press talking about how he feels so lucky now all of a sudden. I don't give a shit if he said to them that he wanted to stay. There's rules for a reason. As harsh as that may sound, that said, while I am supportive of the action taken by Police Scotland during yesterday's incident, there clearly needs to be a long-term solution that deals with the root cause, not merely the symptoms. The underlying cause is excessive UK government's draconian immigration and asylum laws. The hostile environment, here we go again, the hostile, this is what I'm saying when I think that there's something no threat can write about this, because the SNP do not shut up about this hostile environment under the Tories in particular. You know, let's not forget when Theresa May was in charge, this hostile environment that the SNP love to talk about.
Record levels of immigration under Theresa May's watch. Boris Johnson said before he was elected and that he was going to crack down on these people coming over the English Channel in their wee fucking rubber boats. What's happened? If anything, the numbers increased. You know? Sajid Javid, what did he do? Nothing. Priti Patel, what's she doing? Nothing. These people are coming in droves on a daily basis. I don't know the statistics in terms of how many immigrants have entered the UK during this so-called pandemic the last year or so. But before that transpired, immigration was a serious issue, legal as well as illegal. But it's a hostile environment apparently, because everything is racist and oppressive and all the rest of it, according to the SNP. That's how they roll. The hostile environment created by the Conservatives does not just turn its back on the most vulnerable, often fleeing war and persecution. See, again, the automatic assumption when somebody comes to this country to claim asylum is that they must be fleeing war and persecution. Why else would they do it? The reason that they would do it is because there's a system that has been created in order for them to do so. You know? It's open season. The floodgates are open. That's why you've got people from all over Africa claiming a fucking asylum in European hotspots. The same as they're attempting to do here. Anyway, but proactively, seeks to make life miserable for each and every one. And you see it. Oh, yeah, that's why they get cooped up in brand spanking hotels, you know, while homeless are on the streets, etc. I know that we will differ on the constitutional question. However, I hope we can put our differences aside to come together and create a progressive alliance to resist the UK Tory government hostile environment and oppressive immigration and asylum. Oh, it's so oppressive, yet record levels under the Tories of immigration. You know, record levels. Yeah. Yeah, so oppressive, yet they still come in their droves. In that vein, I would invite you to join with SNP MSPs, MPs and council colleagues to demand the immediate devolution of immigration and asylum powers to the Scottish Parliament. Here we go, you know. I know this is a position also supported by Patrick Harvey. Of course, why wouldn't it be? You know, the more the merrier, the more BAMEs over here. Fuck the carbon footprint that Patrick Harvey's so concerned about. Now we need BAMEs. In Scotland, there is a broad In Scotland, there is a broad consensus that we can create an asylum and immigration system that has compassion, not suspicion, at its heart. Yeah. This is the problem with Scotland. You know, it's like see the display yesterday, which I'll try and find some videos because I'm so disorganised just there. Like the display that took place yesterday, with all these people chanting, with all these people demanding that these men are allowed out of the van, with all these people shouting "refugees are welcome here," etc. And then when they were eventually let out of the van, the cheers. There's instances like that make me ashamed to be fucking Scottish, if I'm honest. What is happening to our country? I mean, this left-wing progressive cancer has completely polluted the minds of so many people in Scotland. It's disheartening in no certain terms, if I'm being honest. But this shit. There's a broad consensus that we can create an asylum and immigration system that has compassion, not suspicion at its heart. So what do you mean by compassion? Well, if we go up here, when he's talking about, often fleeing war and persecution, so we just have to let everyone in then? We have to automatically assume that they are doing what they say they're here for? You know? You know, what about the Glasgow grooming gang that took place a few years ago that was kept quiet? If you go through the list of nationalities of those people, a good portion of the nationalities that were included in that rape gang, if not most, were in fact countries that they had no fucking excuse to be fleeing from, you know. But of course, now they've added in poverty to the mix now. Oh, I'm fleeing for a better life. Well, I don't give a fuck, if I'm quite honest. But that said, every poll that's ever been conducted in recent years in Scotland showcases that people in Scotland want less immigration. It's a fact. They ignore these polls, and you could argue to me that, yes, it's just a poll though, but yet the SNP are very quick to jump on any poll that showcases a support for independence. Just saying. It is clear that leaving asylum and immigration in the hands of the UK will only pour further misery on the most vulnerable in our society. Well, how are they more vulnerable because they're an immigrant and or an asylum seeker? Again, it's just bollocks. You're just labels. So anyway, that was that.
Let them go! These are our neighbours! 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 Let them go! These are... Don't push me, you've approached me. You've approached me. You're one after me then.
What's your name? Officer, what's your name?
He's doing nothing. And the thing is, mate,
What's
look
your
around,
name,
look around.
officer?
BBC cameras, Scotsman, STV, everywhere. And your guy's saying I'll make up a charge. We'll help it.
You're taking our neighbors out of their homes.
Abusing your powers.
The main thing is, listen, do your job. Go and get the two kidnapped guys out the van. They've got no power
Kidnap men.
to do what they're doing. Let them out.
They do,
Do your
though.
job. And then we'll
That's the thing, they do have the ability to do what they're doing. And this seems to have flown over so many people's heads in this instance. They absolutely have their ability to deport people who have outstayed their welcome, to put it bluntly. You know, it's the same with these failed asylum seekers, as I said, that are in Glasgow, in droves. That all they do is they continuously reapply for asylum, and it's rejected over and over and over again, and they're just delaying the inevitable. Then occasionally what happens is the lock changes instance occurred, where they decided that these people were outstaying their welcome, they'd been told to leave, so they changed the locks. There was a kick-up about that as well. Oh, where's the compassion? Oh, it's racism, etc. We need devolved immigration powers to stop this. Stop what? Stop deportations? That's what this is about, really, as far as I'm concerned. That's what the SNP are angling for here. If they had their way, there would be no fucking deportations. If they had their way, Scotland would be bloody BAME by now.
go home.
Come on, man. Abusing that uniform, man.
Bullies, bullies, that's what you have, bullies.
All the police were there to do was to ensure that things ran smoothly. Look at that fucking work. So yeah, of course, the police eventually, after hours of demands from politicians and protesters on the streets alike, the police decided to allow the people to be released. With Hamza Yusuf and many others on Twitter, etc., all taking the time to celebrate this as if it was a joyous occasion. With Hamza Yusuf saying here, while immigration is a reserved matter, I am pleased that Police Scotland have legitimately intervened in interests of public health and safety, and those in Border Force custody will be released. The situation should never have occurred. The UK's government hostile environment is not welcome here. With the police saying, in order to protect the safety, public health and well-being of all people involved in the detention and subsequent protests in Kenmure Street, Pollokshields today, Chief Superintendent Mark Sutherland has, following a suitable risk assessment, taken the operational decision to release the men detained by UK immigration enforcement back into their community meantime. In order to facilitate this quickly and effectively, Police Scotland is asking members of the public to disperse from the street as soon as possible. Yada yada. You know, throughout all this though, there's not one damn mention of fucking COVID, you know, because it was just today, in fact, was it today, yesterday. No, sorry. Where did it go? This one, sorry. I told you, I'm very disorganised at the best of times. Today, Nicola Thinlips has cancelled lockdown easing in Glasgow amid Indian variant fears. Oh, the Indian variant's going to get you. Oh. The Indian variant, aye. 2 Indian men in a van yesterday, and here it is, the Indian variant, you know. That said, though, you know, no mention of that, though. That's fine. That is fine, because you're doing a good thing. COVID knows. I mean, nobody spread COVID about when they were all demanding the BAMEs were allowed at the back of the van. No, they fucking weren't. Where was Nicola Sturgeon telling them to go home? Anyway, we'll come on to that boot in just a second. So, of course, the thin-lipped capuchin monkey was all over this shit from the minute it began.
with her first tweet going on about how she's, as a constituency MSP or member of the Scottish Parliament, she's deeply concerned by the action by the Home Office, especially today in the heart of a community celebrating Eid. My office is making urgent inquiries and stands ready to offer any necessary assistance to those detained. She then follows that up with the UK Home Office action today is creating a dangerous and unacceptable situation in Pollokshield. Oh, they're creating the dangerous situation. Oh, are they now? And what would that be, of course? Nothing to do with all the people surrounding the van demanding that they're let out. People going so far as to lie underneath it so that it couldn't move. Yeah? You know what annoys me about these people? If this was a far-right gathering, quote-unquote, or just right-wing, patriot-type people that were protesting something, this thin-lipped boot would be the first to tell everyone to go home. This thin-lipped boot would be the first to say that there's a danger of the Indian COVID variant spreading about. But when it comes to progressive issues where the twats are out protesting and doing what they do best, which is screeching about shit, then of course she will never condemn them. Never at all. It's anybody else's fault. So it's the people that they were protesting, it's their fault. Because if they weren't doing this, they wouldn't be there. Get your priorities in order, eh? So then she retweeted this on there. But then, of course, this is this bit here. Today's events were entirely down to the UK Home Office's actions. Police Scotland were in an invidious position. They do not assist in the removal of asylum seekers. They're not even fucking asylum seekers. Well, one of the guys is on STV News. I could get the video and play it. I mean, the video's almost 20 minutes long as it is at this point. But he said that he's worked here for years and his visa's ran out. And he's tried to reapply and they've rejected it. He's not a fucking asylum seeker. Anyway, they do not assist in the removal of asylum seekers, but do have a duty to protect public safety. They act independently of ministers, but I do support this decision. Of course you do. Of course you do. Because you support nobody being deported. If you had your way, no one would be deported. And we all know if she had her way, the immigration levels that Scotland does currently see would skyrocket. I disagree fundamentally with the UK Home Office's immigration policy, but even putting that aside, the action was unacceptable. To act in this way in the heart of a Muslim community, here she's doing it as well, as I said earlier. It's Glasgow, it's not a fucking Muslim community. As they celebrated Eid, and in an area experiencing a COVID outbreak was a health risk and safety, but you didn't tell them to go home, no, did you? Nah, of course you fucking didn't, because you were loving it. Both as MSP and as First Minister, I will be demanding assurances from the UK government that they will never again create, through their actions, such a dangerous situation. I mean, again, no. Had nobody gone out to protest, none of this would have happened. You know what I mean? They went there to do their job. They went there to pick up two men to deport them. They didn't create a dangerous situation. The only situation that you could consider dangerous, if you want to go down this train of thought, is the people that decided to stand there with placards and scream and screech. But you won't blame them. Of course you won't. No assurances were given, and quite frankly, frankly, no empathy shown when I managed to speak to a junior minister. Lastly, I am proud to represent a constituency and lead a country that welcomes and shows support to asylum seekers and refugees. The day when immigration policy is the responsibility of the Scottish Parliament can't come soon enough, and there it is again. The day that immigration policy is the responsibility of the Scottish Parliament. And I mean, of course, even their own manifesto, yet again, there in bold writing, talks about the fact that Scotland needs immigration because of our ageing population. Yeah. But it's interesting to think about it, to hypothesize what that would entail if they were given the ability to dictate their own immigration policy and asylum policy. Because any deportations whatsoever, that's classified as inconsiderate, lacking in compassion, etc. We need dignity and compassion and love and peace, etc. That's just wishy-washy mumbo-jumbo. The reality of the matter is they would have nobody deported, everybody with indefinite leave to remain, irrespective of where they come from, and irrespective of what they have to offer. Yeah? They can't come soon enough. The day Scotland has devolved immigration powers with this thin-lipped boot in charge at the helm, Scotland's fucked. It's fucked anyway, if you ask me. And here's it again. The Home Office needs to ask itself hard questions after today. Doing this on Eid in the heart of our Muslim community. There are all these different communities. This is the wonders of multiculturalism. Everybody seems to segregate. Our Muslim community, you know? Not the Scottish community, not the Muslim community. And in the midst of a serious COVID outbreak was staggeringly irresponsible. But even the deeper problem is the appalling asylum and immigration policy. Oh, how dare they have the audacity to deport people that have no right to be here anymore. But the point is, though, everyone has the right to be here, according to Nicola fucking Sturgeon, eh? And that's the problem. You thin-lipped boot, I fucking hate it, eh?
An 8-hour standoff. The doors of the UK immigration enforcement van were opened. People power on the streets of Glasgow had forced this U-turn, and 2 Indian men who had faced detainment, possible deportation, have tonight instead been released. The men have now spoken exclusively to ITV News.
Oh, look who it is. Look who it is. It's Anwar, or whatever his name is. Imar Anwar. You know, the same guy who does nothing but complain that Scotland's racist. He's a solicitor or a lawyer of sorts. Black Lives Matter, despite the fact he's brown. You know? I was actually going to make a video on him not too long ago, actually, because of an article that he released not too long ago, or an article that was written, an interview that he was a part of. Here is him here with his wee megaphone. He was very vocal at all this that took place. Let's see if I can... Oh, there it is there. The fight against racism goes on. Interview with Imar Anwar. Yeah, this piece of shit. You know, the usual crap. Systemic, institutional, etc. But anyway, I'm digressing. He's a dickhead.
When the door opened, how did you feel?
That's happy. It's feeling good. All the sport, all the people is coming here. The sport is the happy now.
Do you have anything that you want to say to the people who came to support you today?
Yeah. Thank you very, very much.
Speaking in his native Punjabi, Lakvir then told us what happened.
I
was taken unannounced from my flat. They barged in and took me into the van. I was anxious and upset, wondering how I would be treated at the detention centre.
Let them go!
But this community was determined to stop that happening. Hundreds immediately poured onto the streets surrounding the immigration van, even lying under it. This is Nicola Sturgeon's constituency, and the Scottish First Minister had pleaded directly with the UK Home Office to stand down.
This was a cynical and provocative action by the Home Office to do it on the day of Eid. Let's be honest, they don't give a damn about the lives of these people. The people of Glasgow do. This city is built on the backs of refugees. People.
It's fucking so dumb.
People who've given blood, sweat and tears to build this city.
Yo, you mean blood and soil? You're making a blood and soil argument now, are you? I'll tell you who the SNP or the UK government don't give a damn about. It is white people. Natives to this land. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that tonight, but I'm just saying, I mean, fuck's sake. Blood, sweat and tears, eh? Fucking hell.
So we do have those proud traditions and we stand firmly with these men.
A UK Home Office statement said this operation was conducted in relation to suspected immigration offences.
I'm happy in sports, my own friend. I'm happy.
But ultimately it was the people here who decided their neighbours were not leaving today.
I'm so happy that my fate brought me to live here in Glasgow, where the people are so connected that they'll come out onto the streets to help one of their own.
Appreciate it.
These 2 Indian nationals have been here 10 years and are still living in Scotland without leave to remain. But for tonight they are back home with family, within a community that has fought off the Home Office to keep them here.
So I'll just leave on this. Many different organisations and whatnot, activists, you know, the usual bell ends, they all came out to have their 2 cents, give their 2 cents even. Mohammed Asif, director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation, was one of what he said were hundreds of neighbours protesting against the action on Thursday. The 54-year-old who left Afghanistan as a refugee himself in 2000 said the atmosphere amongst the protesters is peaceful. Going on to say, we're here against the hostile environment created by the Tories in the British state. The hostile environment, yeah, I've fucking heard it all before. The same people who ran from the British and American bombs put at the back of the van right now, and they're about to be deported. They're fucking Indian? What bombs are we dropping in India? But they're all brown, I suppose.
And it's on Eid, you know, the guys aren't even allowed to pray. How do you do that in a democratic society? I mean, it's not our problem. I mean, Eid's got fuck all to do with it, innit? Zabir, Zazai, whatever, chief executive of the Scottish Refugee Council, wrote on Twitter, not close to the details on this, but this is shocking, disgraceful, and, of course, racist. If people are raided by enforcement officers amidst the pandemic on the day of Eid. Also, it's racist because they did it now. You know, but if they did it the day after, that's not racist. Wafa Shaheen, head of services at the charity, said she was shaken and angry at the Home Office's decision to force people from their homes on the first day of Eid, and she condemned the heavy-handed approach. The heavy-handed approach, Tom, a neighbour who joined the protest, compared the immigration operation on Eid to a police raid on Christmas Day. The solidarity shown towards the community the solidarity shown today shows the community will not stand for their neighbours being dragged from their homes. The 31-year-old who did not want to give his surname said, I'd ask Christians to reflect on what it would feel like to have your house raided on Christmas Day. Okay. Sorry. What else have we got? Thin Lips accused the Home Office of creating a dangerous and unacceptable situation. We went through that with the tweets. Hamza Youssef, of course, said that he expressed the Scottish Government's deep concern and anger about this operation with the Home Office, especially in the heart of a community celebrating Eid. Take this action of Pollokshield the day after the First Minister warned of an upsurge of COVID cases in the south side of Glasgow is completely I mean, what? Had everything gone to plan, they would have taken these two guys and driven off. But no, we couldn't have that. So the only people that are spreading the big bad Indian COVID variant are, of course, the people that turned up with their fucking placards. But we can't condemn them because they did the right thing because they're lefty progressive twats. Am I right, Dave? We welcome people from all over the world, but not only for their contribution to our economy and society, but for the diversity they bring to our communities. We welcome people from all over the world, and the reason we do that is because they make Scotland less fucking white. That's what that means. That's what that means. I'm sick of this shitty little narrative they've got going. I'm sick of this wishy-washy feminine bullshit. That's what it is. Any man that comes out with that dribble is malevolent underneath, but on the surface is a fucking feminine man, in my opinion, eh? Scotland is stronger for our multiculturalism, and non-UK citizens are an important part of our country's future. Yeah, because they are our fucking future, eh?